Hi guys, hope you're all okay. Welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new and don't know me, my name is Claire and I have a 3-year-old daughter named Quinn, and today's video I'm going to talk to you about bedtime fears and nightmares in children. This is something that recently happened with us in the last 2 to 3 months and really hit us hard. As a little bit of background, historically Quinn is a very good sleeper. She's always been very good at bedtime routine. She's always sent herself to sleep and she's always never been afraid of the dark before. So a little bit before Christmas she started getting a little bit anxious at bedtime and going to sleep on her own, but we didn't really think anything of it at first because it coincided with her being in hospital. About a week or week and a half before Christmas she spent 3 days in A&E because she was poorly with croup, and it coincided with that time, and we just assumed that it was because she'd been poorly, she just wanted mummy and daddy close to her, so we didn't really think anything of it. And then she got a little bit better after a couple of weeks, and then at the end of January when we potty trained Quinn, it started again. And again I put it down to it was coincidence. It was, we were doing a big life change, we were doing a huge milestone for her, and naturally huge milestones in children can actually interrupt their sleep, whether that be daytime naps or their bedtime sleep. So I didn't really think anything of it at first, like I said, and it was only after a couple of weeks of after we potty trained Quinn that we just thought, I think we're dealing with more than a milestone issue here. I think this is an actual fear. So I started looking into a little bit of research on Google, as you do, and actually found out that bedtime fears and nightmares become very, very common in children from around the age of 2.5 and can last anywhere up to 5-6 years old. It really is, as with anything, child dependent. So for us it actually really hit us really hard. It was quite a struggle and we didn't really know how to deal with it at first. She, all of a sudden, we put her to bed one night and I went to do the normal routine, bath, bed, story, give her a kiss goodnight, turn off the lights, see you in the morning, shut the door. And it was at that moment that I turned my back to walk away from her. She just flew into a blind panic. And it was pure fear in her face. She like crying hysterically and she was just really scared. So this happened every night from that point, and every night it would be a different reason behind her fear. One night it would be she was scared of a dragon, another night it would be she was scared of the dark. There was always a reason that she didn't want to go to sleep on her own, so we ended up having to sit with her till she went to sleep, or lay down with her, whatever she felt more comfortable with at the time. And this went on for about 2 months in the end. Thankfully we are out the other side now, we have cracked it. But I just wanted to share with you some of the things that actually helped. Some helped more than others, some didn't really work at all. So I'm just going to quickly go through some of the tips that worked or helped for us. And the first thing would be sympathy. To have sympathy for your child's fear and recognising it as a genuine fear for them, which I felt really hard at first because, like I said, she was always so good at going to sleep before. She'd never been scared of the dark before, and so for us it came as a complete shock. So dealing with or being sympathetic to begin with was actually quite difficult. It was we actually found it quite, or me more so than my husband, found it quite frustrating because we just didn't really know what was going on at first. But one of the things that we did was to be sympathetic towards her fears and actually get her to tell us or try and explain to us as best that she could what she was scared of, so that we could then talk to her about it. Which then actually leads on to my second point, was to actually talk to her about it. So during the daytime, ask her what she was scared of at night, what did she dream about, and sort of tell her that things weren't real. So for example, one particular evening Quinn woke up in the middle of the night. She'd had a dream that the animals were chasing her through the jungle. So we just explained to her to try and make it not so fearful for her, that the animals just wanted to play and that she needed to tell them to go away, leave her alone, that she was trying to sleep and she would play with them in the morning. So we'd kind of try and spin each fear that she had, we would try and spin it so that it was not so scary for her, if that makes sense. One of the reasons that it's actually quite common for children to have bedtime fears and nightmares at this age is because they live in a world of fantasy and role play. Their imaginations at this age are booming, and everything during the daytime, every book that they read, everything they see on the television, it's all fantasy, bears. One of Quinn's favourite books at the time was, or still is Room on the Broom. So you've got witches and dragons and monsters, even if they're friendly monsters, whatever it is that they're watching, everything is just full of fantasy and imagination. And at that age they have trouble differentiating between fantasy and reality, and it come to bedtime they don't know how to shut that off. So everything that they've done during the day then becomes an actual fear at night. So which is one of the reasons why we found it really important to actually talk to her about it and try and help her understand what it was that she was going through. Some of the other things that we actually tried that maybe didn't work so well is I purchased this from Amazon, and because a couple of people have said to me, try Nightlight. So because Quinn's always been happy to sleep in the dark, so we tried a few different types of night lights, one of them being this projector torch. Don't know if that's going to focus, but it's a little frozen one. It's got the on off button switch here, and it's got the little projector disc that comes out, pops in there, and you switch it on. I think the battery's actually gone in this now, but you spin it around and they can just project it onto the wall, onto the ceiling, and they've then got some form of a night light and pictures that they're happy to look at, their favourite programmes, that they can just spin the wheel round and look at some nice pictures. This was more of a novelty for her during the day, but when it comes to bedtime she was happy to take it to bed and she was happy to hold it. But again, when it comes to me leaving or my husband leaving the room, this wasn't helping. One of the other things that we tried, another form of nightlight, was the grow clock. Obviously most parents will have one of these, but you can adjust the light on here to have it brighter or darker. We tried a few different settings on here for the light. Again, didn't really work so well for us. I mean, we tried to play a bit of a game with it in the end, so she would see the face on this go to sleep, and the quicker she went to sleep, the quicker she could wake up in the morning and see the sunrise. Again, it was a bit hit and miss with that. And one of the other night lights that I tried was this. This was just something that I picked up in Home Bargains, as an ornamental thing. I've had it in the living room, I've now got it in her bedroom, but it's got on there, you can see little LED lights on there, and you're not actually going to see it in here, it's too sunny. But have that on, and again, any form of nightlight that we was trying she was fine with, but again, when it come to us actually leaving the room, she would just fly into a blind panic. One of the other things that we actually tried was, and I've seen a few parents do this, I've seen pictures and stories, I've read about them on Instagram and other YouTubers trying it, is the monster spray. So you get a bottle, a spray bottle of any kind, fill it with water, you decorate the bottle and you write monster spray on it, or whatever you want to call it in your household. We had it as monster spray. And spray it around the door frame, spray it under the bed, in all the nooks and crannies in the bedroom. That did actually work quite well for us. It did make her feel more comfortable. This was one of the later things that we tried when she was starting to feel more comfortable anyway. So that's actually a good one to try. I do recommend that. It just makes them feel a bit more confident that you've done something to eliminate the fears that they believe are very real in their bedrooms when the lights go out. So things that actually worked for us in the end was inevitably patience. Is going to be something that some of you might find quite difficult. I know we did at first, because laying with her, sitting with her, waiting till she'd fall asleep, it actually ate up all of our or most of our evening, and could be quite mentally draining, having to do that every night, especially if you're not used to it. Some days it would take Quinn half an hour to go off and you'd be able to creep out of the room. Some days it would take her an hour plus or more to actually fall asleep, enough so that you would be able to creep out of the room unnoticed. So patience and talking about it really worked. Really talking through her fears, actually asking her every night what it was that she was scared of that particular evening, and then talk about it. And actually going with it. At the end of the day, their fears that they're experiencing at this age are really real for them. So they don't know how to shut down between fantasy and reality. So they believe their fears are real and what they're feeling is real. So just go with it and have sympathy for them. Also, probably knowing when you're actually crossing the line from actually helping them to it actually becoming a habit. It did start to get to a point where we thought that it was then Quinn was quite comfortable to go to sleep. It was more just that she was getting used to us being there going to sleep. So probably knowing when that point is coming so that you can then start breaking down that habit, because then you're just never going to have your evenings back. And some of the ways that we did that was just, it took me 3 nights to actually break the habit, very much like sleep training in essence. It took me 3 nights to do it. The first night she cried and she kept coming out of the bedroom and I kept walking her back. I was like, no, it's bedtime. I know you're not scared of anything. You're a big girl. Kept walking her back to bed, and this probably went on for about an hour, if not more, for the first night, and she ended up going to sleep crying with that sob, you know, that actually makes you feel really bad, because then she was asleep still going like that, and it's quite heartbreaking. But I knew it was becoming a habit, and I knew that she wasn't scared anymore. We had dealt with the fears and she was quite able to go to sleep on her own. The second night wasn't so bad. It didn't last as long. She did come out of the bedroom a few times, but probably half an hour, 45 minutes, and she did actually end up staying in her bedroom. And the third night she cried a little bit, but she didn't even get out of bed, and she kind of knew, you know, Mum's not giving in this time, you know, it's time I start going back to sleep on my own. She kind of knew by then. And gradually from there we have then got back to normal. She is again excited to go to bed. She knows come 7 o'clock she has certain programs on at bedtime, and she knows once they're finished she gets her drink, she picks a story. She has 1 or 2 stories depending what she wants. Most of the time it's just 1 story, and off she goes to bed. So it can actually be quite a shock to the system if you've never really experienced anything like bedtime fears or nighttime fears. We found it very hard. It was a massive shock to our system and was not expecting it whatsoever, but just go with it in the end. So yeah, those are some of the experiences that we've had with bedtime fears and nightmares. Quinn did have nightmares during this period as well, and where she would wake up in the night and she'd want to come and get in bed with us, which we were more than happy to do. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if any of you have had this issue, because when I started looking into it, I started looking on YouTube for videos that might help me, and I couldn't really find that many. So I do hope some of what I've said has helped you. Let me know in the comments below if you've tried any of it, or if you had any other suggestions, what worked for you, what didn't. I'd love to hear about them. But yes, thank you very much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. Give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see any more from me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.